Howdy ho, everyone, and welcome aboard. Thanks for joining me for Trading Buddies on this Monday, the 20th of November. Would you believe 5 weeks away from that Santa Claus thing? I'm having a little bit of trouble here. Just hang on 2 secs. And I will attempt to get us recording, which is my problem at the moment. Why won't that disappear? Dearie. There we go. Righto, back to normal. As I said, thank you for joining us for Trading Buddies on this Monday, the 20th of November. And let's hope we can enlighten the week ahead or look forward to something that's going to happen that's nice for us for the week ahead. We'll start with gold, of course, and see if we've got a breakout trade on the hourly charts. Again, excuse me, whilst I get this monster under control. It's beating me at the moment. I need that, and I need that. Right, there we go. Now we're clear. Okay, I've got an expired trade on gold. Oh, that was a short last week, which didn't happen. Oh, look at that. Nice head and shoulders sitting there. Break, retest. Interesting. We'll have a look at that a bit later. What have we got as far as a range is concerned today? Well, first candle of Asia session is that one. So that becomes the low. And the high becomes there. So the range is pretty clear. Right there is the high, right there is the low, and we seek to trade outside those areas. Okay, I'm not too bad with either of those, except that the weekly pivots are a bit in the way. But we are clear of that level, which is not too bad. DS3, long way. Let me judge. So our risk would be nearly $12, and our reward to the downside would be less than 5. That's not great. If we decided to go through to this area, we'd get about 9 out of it. Not really against that. It is a Monday, and I'm not a massive fan of trading this on a Monday. To the upside, about 8 if we'd ignored DR1. Once again, I'm not going to take the trade because the reward to risk is pretty poor. So let's do a bit of analysis on last week if you were trading this particular system, which, of course, for those of you who are new and welcome aboard, good to see you in. What we attempt to do is, as I say, get the breakout of Asia session on gold versus the US dollar, and then look for a profit at the pivots or an obvious swing down here. Today, that looks like here and here. As I say, the reward to risk trading into the weekly pivot and DR1 isn't that great, so we'll give it a miss. With all of that in mind, on Friday, let's reel back to Friday and see what would have happened. We used the 9 o'clock bar, which is the current bar here, as our, that's it, that one there. So the high would have been here. No, the high would actually, yes, that's right. The high would have been here. The low would have been here because it's the second bar of the day, not the first. So we would have got taken in long, and 7.5 gets us about 5. I don't know where DR1 was. It was probably definitely above there. Sorry, definitely below the high. Might have been reasonable, but not great. The low of Thursday was there. The high of Thursday was, there's 11 o'clock. There's 9 o'clock right there. So there's the high of the day. You would have been trading into DR1 up here somewhere, and you would have got that easily, no problem at all. So Thursday would have been a winner. Wednesday, the low of the range would have been here. The high of the range, this looks like a deadly dangerous one, would have been there. So we would have got taken into the long, And if you were willing to trade that, but no idea again where DR1 was, but you were trading straight into this high, so it wouldn't have been a great idea. You would have got hammered. On Tuesday, well, that's a tricky one. The low of the range would have been 07 there. Wow. You may have got hammered. You would have got hammered. Oh, very, very close. If you didn't get hammered, you would have been very much on a winner. And on Monday, which we didn't trade, once again, the high is there. The low is, that is the, no, way. Low is there. You would have got hammered. You would have got taken in short and then bang. But that's why we had those. G'day, Paul P. Happy New Week, mate. That's why we had those little filters to say, oh, is the risk to reward worth this? Is it not? So probably, a couple of winners and maybe a loser, or maybe even two losers last week. Righto, we have got an interesting scenario with gold, and I will go through that a little bit later. I'm still bearish, I've got to say, but let's firstly move on to the trade that I have in the market, just so I can share that with you. It is exactly the same trade as it was last week. On the weekly chart, I'm trading pound versus the Swiss franc. Ooh, I just only removed you, Ibrahim. My apologies. Same thing applies. This is the weekly chart we're looking at. That's the monthly, and I've spoken about this at length. This bar here, which was a follow-up of or a follow-through, if you like, of the big reversal bar that we saw back in September, I think it was, maybe even July. But the one in October, that was the October bar, wasn't it? Yes. The one in October was the follow-through bar, and every single piece of price action up until last month was inside that bar. So almost 12 months of price action being unable to break out of that candle. Well, it did last month, but it didn't last very long. And this range, which to my mind is still very, very valid, has been re-entered by price here, as you can see on the weekly chart. And pardon me, it's also retested the bottom of that range. For that reason, I analyze this as a false break of the bottom of that range, and therefore have placed an order above this bar at 1.1157, and my stop loss is below not only the bar but the monthly pivot as well, and indeed under last week's candle, which was a bit of a fizzer. We didn't get taken in obviously last week. I'm of the opinion that if price does go back in our direction, we'll not only be taken in, we'll probably head towards the top of the range minimum. And then if we can actually force the breakout, the real breakout, then we've got tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of room up here to make some money. That's why I keep my focus on this pair, because I think once it does break out of this range, it's going to go for miles and miles and miles. So that's pound Swissy. Game changer bars for the week. Let's start with the Aussie pairs. Only two on the Aussie pairs. Aussie versus the CAD was one. And the weekly game changer bars suggest, well, actually, but explain game changer bars. There are probably people in the room who don't know what a game changer bar is. Game changer bar is, or a candle, call it what you want, is a candle whose low, in this case, is lower than the previous week, which this one clearly was, and who closes, or which closes on or near its high, which is a clear definition of what that candle is. Also a bullish engulfing bar you'll probably recognize as well. And that is an indicator that we should be looking to buy the market. However, this is all tied up in what I call the big boss. Now, the big boss has to agree with the direction before I'll take the trade. In this case, on Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar, what is the big boss? Oh, two things. Why do I call it the big boss? And number two is what is it and where is it? Well, sometimes it's a little bit subjective, but most of the time you can see. I'll have to open up a chart so I can get rid of all this stuff. Or maybe I can just get rid of that. Yeah, that's a bit better. Most of the time you can see a clear controlling aspect, if you like, chart pattern. It's generally a chart pattern. And in this case, it leads to a trend. And that chart pattern that I believe the market is under the influence of right now is this double top. You could argue that, and a lot of people will argue with me calling that a double bottom, but I'll call that a double bottom. It's not as significant, I don't believe, as this one up here. Why? Well, because the market's trended ever since this happened. That's why. So I still think this is in control of the market. And every time we see a reverse, not every time, but I think you'll bear with me whilst I go through this little exercise. Every time we see a game changer bar or reverse key reversal bar, look that one up if you don't know what a key reversal bar is. That'll be in all of the manuals. Every time we see one, after we get the double top, the market sells off. There's one there, closed above its previous high, the previous week's high. In this case, it's the month, and closed on or near its low. Bang, down goes the market. Then we have a retracement or a rally, call it what you want. Then we get another one here, above the previous high, closed on its low, market sells off. Then we get another one here, then we get another one here. And the market sells off dramatically, gets another rally, get another one here, market sells off, get another one here, market sells off. I think you get the idea, right? And here's another one here, here's another one here, here's another one here. It doesn't have to be a red candle, it just has to have a higher high and close on or near its low. That one just qualifies, but this one certainly does, and this one certainly does, and so on and so forth. So if you had recognized that Aussie versus CAD on this, the monthly chart, was in fact being ruled by that double top, then every time you see one of these things, it wouldn't be a bad idea to trade it, would it? Now, what are we faced with? This gets me to the point. What are we faced with when we see a game changer bar going the opposite direction? This time, game changer bar's low is lower than the previous week and closed on or near its high. Great temptation to just trade it as a game changer bar. However, I'll go back to that monthly chart, and here was my criteria, right? Once we saw the double top, we had to wait, and we had to wait quite a while to get that first game changer bar, and there it was there, right? Have we got that circumstance at the moment? You might say, well, okay, but hang on a minute, once we saw the double top and the game changer, actually, I don't think these are game changer bar, no. But once we saw the double top, the market just went 1,500 pips. Can't argue, but does it always do that? That's the question. So the reason that I would wait for, and this could go 1,500 pips, absolutely could, but the reason I wait for the second or the game changer bar after the double bottom is because it confirms that the double bottom is valid. In other words, price does not want to go back to that level once we get that higher low and the reversal bar, or the game changer bar as I call it. So I'm not ready to trade a game changer bar at the moment. Am I directionally agreeing with where it's pointing? Look, I think I am short term. Where does it go before it comes back and gives me what I want? Great question, don't know, but I am waiting on that. So long story short, I am not going to trade Aussie CAD long at this moment, despite the fact that I'm biased long with the Aussie. In any case, if I was going to trade that, I've already missed it. Aussie versus the Kiwi is the next one. Same scenario, suggesting that we buy the Aussie. And if that's to be the case, there's the game changer bar. Would I trade that? Answer no. Why? because the resistance through here is quite substantial, and I don't want to trade straight into resistance. So just to further explain for those of you who are new what a game changer bar brings to the table is I'm looking for directional bias, nothing more. Sometimes it agrees with a double bottom, higher low, something like that. Just like here, it agreed with that double top, lower high. Sometimes it does agree with that. And when it does, and the big boss tells me, big boss being the chart pattern, tells me that it's good to go, then I'm more than happy to do that, as long as I'm not trading into a strong resistance level or strong support level. So at this point in time, Aussie versus the Kiwi, despite my bias, again, bullish for the Aussie, I just can't jump in here. I've got to wait for something a little bit better, price down here on a higher low or something like that. But it's not just there at the moment. One that I am keen on is this one, and it's CAD versus the yen. I should have a CAD versus the yen chart here somewhere. Yes, I do. Oh, double trouble. I can get rid of that, can't I? 2 seconds. There we go. The reason I like CAD versus the yen, and this is a classic case of why I can't just trade a game changer bar willy-nilly because it's there. Love to, and I think the directional bias is probably okay, but rather, this is a classic case of hot level that has been rejected multiple times. It's around about the 110 mark. We do have a game changer bar. What's the big boss telling me? Big boss is not telling me to go short here, not telling me at all. It's telling me we've got a strong base here, and ever since we formed that triple bottom, quadruple bottom, whatever it was that you want to call it, and we got the higher low, we went straight into trend, and we've been in that trend for quite some time, and it hasn't changed, frankly. So what I need to do is wait for that change to occur before I can actually get into the market. Directionally biased, okay, but just to trade that bar is way too risky for me. I've got to see a lower high at the very least, and until that happens, I won't be trading this short. Directional bias, as I said, is fine. Could I find it on a smaller time frame? You bet your little bottom booty I could. I could wait and see a lower high in here and trade that short. The reason I like this so much right now is it's giving me a potential trade setup in that it has broken through that former resistance level, which is depicted by the trade line. It's come straight back through it. All I'm seeking now is a retest of that level, which should produce the lower high anyway, and then I can trade this short. You've got to take into consideration the Bank of Japan are one of the worst enemies of me, because I've been just hanging in there waiting for them to do something so I can actually trade the yen from its absolute cellar dwelling position into something far more respectable. But they don't, and every single time that you look like it's going to go short, woof, short, woof, short, woof. And that's exactly what's been happening for time. Well, I was about to say time immemorial, but it's not so bad. But it has been going on for a long, long time against a lot of pairs. That's the thesis of game changer bars anyway. So I'm way over time, and I just want to add quickly that I've got a watch list that you think, or have I? I guess I have. So I've got that order in the market. I'm keen on gold and silver, but I'm going to add to that. This is the dollar index. And the dollar index, which we said last week or the week before, I can't remember when, was at a crucial point. And I couldn't tell whether it was going to go long from here or short from here. Well, the market's decided that I don't need to wait any longer. And it has absolutely told us that the dollar is not in favor short term, maybe even medium term. And that's due in part to numbers, really, and the fact that the Fed are really no longer, in my opinion, under any pressure to raise interest rates. And therefore, the dollar is selling off at some pace. That's the problem. The pace is the problem. And just jumping in here now is probably not what I want to do. but we have had a small retracement on the daily chart last week, and I can't see that this won't come back and probably retest the backside of that trade line at some stage. Is it this week? I don't know, but likelihood is that that will be the case. So that's the thesis that I take into these situations. And gold, I'm bearish on gold still, but I'd have to say not against the US dollar for that reason. But if I have a look at the Aussie, gold versus the Aussie, I can see here far more potential. But I can't see a trade, but I can see far more potential. Potential reversal is there. If I got a lower high in here in the next couple of weeks, I'd be willing to trade it. But I'd also be willing to trade it on the daily chart if I got a false break of this resistance area. We've already got, yeah, I won't even call it a head and shoulders, but the thesis remains the same. We've got a little bit of a reversal, got a little bit of retracement, and we've looked like we may even go into trend here. It may be the case, but to trade that, I need to see something of a false break of resistance, and I simply don't have that at this point in time. But I'm keen on both that and silver against the euro. Silver against the euro because the chart's telling me that. Already got the game changing bar there on the daily on Friday, which is playing out as we speak. But my interest lies in this descending channel and the very, very toppy situation at that, 22.5 level. Lower high here gets me really interested in silver versus the euro. And that is number 2 on my watch list for the week. Pound Swiss is number 1. I've already given you that. Pound versus the dollar. Of all of the things against the dollar at the moment, and I've given you my opinion on what the dollar is going to do, this appears to be the most attractive to me. Why? Well, because the others are at levels I don't want to trade them, frankly. They've already gone a fair way. If I look at this in context, pound versus the dollar, yes, it's gone, but has it really gone a long way? And the answer from mine is no, it hasn't. But crucially, it's come back against this, above this level here, which is what, about 123. And it's showing me a false break of that level. And that's already played out to a degree. It's got to get through this resistance area around about 125. But once it does, I think it's on its way. Daily chart's already telling me that it's broken out of structure, this structure being a broadening price pattern. And it's now looking to close above there again. I think to trade this, I need to see it break that horizontal level, come back and retest the confluence on a daily chart, maybe. For that reason, I don't want to jump in right now. But if I drill down to a smaller time frame, these pivots look really, really interesting. And if I can get price down to here and maybe find a false break of resistance, support rather, in that area, then I might get interested. The double banger interesting part about that is I'm back in the structure when that occurs. And if I got a lower high, it'd be telling me to go in the opposite direction. So pound dollar is a little bit tricky, but I think it's the best of the currencies against the dollar for the week. Given tradable, that I think Aussie is number 1, but getting into Aussie is probably going to be a little bit difficult because it's already shot through. Either way, I think you'll find that pound, Aussie, I think they're my two faves against the dollar. May well be in favour this week. And I'll leave it there. I'm way over time. Got to bring Ash in. G'day, buddy.
Hi, mate. How are you?
Oh, I'm exhausted after all that. Gee whiz, I didn't think it'd take so long. It looks like I've got a bit of interest in the markets this week.
That's good, mate. Yeah, it's Oh, did you find out your background color? I like your background color. Mine's a bit
yes, I did. Ivory.
Ivory. Where's that?
Pretty sure that's right.
Oh, I got it. I
yeah,
got it,
ivory.
mate. Yeah. I like it. Okay, ivory. Yeah, God, that's quite bright on mine actually. I will show you. Yeah, I'm not really looking at anything. I've got to be honest, mate. I find week 3 to be one of my trickiest weeks, and I wonder whether what you're saying about the you're being interested. I wonder whether that's the reason I don't like week three is because it does tend to be a bit more rangy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see, when I'm looking. Well, I just had a quick look through a lot of these. So I quite liked Aussie Swiss for a short, but when I'm looking at this right now, that one's on its way at this stage. I don't know if this is going to reverse, but Aussie dollar is on its way, so not really a very attractive trade there. The dollar CAD is kind of on its way as well. Maybe there's a little bit more downside with this, but there might not be that much room with that one. Kiwi, that's kind of the same thing as well. Friday's bar was really positive, and we're already at the top end of the range there. I heard you talking about the pound, and I feel sort of similar about that. I was looking to the FTSE, and actually gold and silver as well. Interested to kind of hear your thoughts on that, because gold hit this level on Friday, and now it's just looking like it's potentially going to weaken at this particular point. If we think about this on a on a technical basis, it doesn't look like no, I can't see my trend lines. It doesn't look like the we're right on top of that. I don't like the fundamentals that are stacking up against the dollar, but this does look like we may well be hitting this point of resistance. Little pin bar as well. It's the lower end of that particular trading range, so it looks like it might just drift to the downside. I think I'm with you ultimately about some upside for gold, but this gap still really bothers me, and I just don't like gaps. So I find them really difficult to kind of
Yeah,
I,
same.
I find it difficult to trade when I've got a gap, that hasn't yet been kind of filled and kind of done its thing. So, morning, Paul P. I like it for upside, but when I see sort of like evidence that there could be some downside, that gap sort of concerns me, and I think, well, could this be a huge flush to the downside? So, not loving that. We saw WTI continue to collapse. A little bit of a potential turnaround going on right now. So maybe we see some upside in WTI.
Yeah, I was going
Fundamentals
to say, is
don't.
the market looking for a price there on oil?
It might be the problem. I think that WTI's got is that some of the upside was caused by the concern of the Middle East kind of becoming exaggerated, and there being a potential sort of lack of supply of oil. But as that kind of faded, we seem to be now sort of focused more about global growth, and global growth is pretty anemic. And we see the People Bank of China trying to sort of like stimulate. We're seeing some numbers from the US and the Eurozone and the UK as well that are suggesting that we're getting a genuine kind of pullback of growth. Now, I don't know how extreme that's going to get. When we're sort of looking at the labor market is finally starting to slacken off. We're starting to see CPI data really take quite a huge jump from the UK, 4.9, I think it was, or might have been 4.6 percent last week in CPI data, but that's from 6.7. So it's a huge kind of jump, in inflation that's coming down. The same things happen in the States. The same things happen in the Eurozone. And I think what the concern in the market is that is this going to become a deflationary environment where it's actually associated with recession, and not just the central bank able to get things under control and then they kind of loosen interest rates and we kind of go again. So I think oil might be suffering because of that. There does seem to be continuous builds as well in the crude oil inventories, so that's not really helped things out. So yeah, it could be sort of like trying to find a bottom, and I guess it will eventually find a bottom, and it's probably in and around this area. It might not be quite there yet, but it's probably in and around this lower zone here. But it might still come down to sort of like what's going on with global growth. And I suppose because of that, there's a possibility that actually oil is about to kind of come down a little bit further. You can see quite a few levels here, that have yet to be tested, and it's which one it needs to test before it does turn around, I think is in question. But when you see sort of a strong move to the downside like this, and a questionable area, I would suggest, of a turnaround, then definitely need to see more than this spinning top to kind of get us interested in upside. So not really interested in oil, and that's really hampering the FTSE as well. When you look at the FTSE, and I was going to trade the FTSE today, but you can see this on the weekly chart. It does look like we might well have hit a bit of an area. Or getting close to an area of potential resistance, and we've just seen some downside kind of come into play. I thought we'd have one more push into this area, which we might still do, but the it's really struggled to get up. And when you compare it to the other indexes, is this because of the situation with oil, with a big sort of oil company, sort of like that make up the FTSE? Is this the problem? Have we got this push, the continuous push to the downside every time it does try to rally, because we're just seeing sort of a lack of global growth, and it's a lot more susceptible to kind of global growth stories, because you compare that to the Nasdaq. Totally different picture. The Nasdaq's just taken off, forming a bull flag up here. Really, it is on resistance, so it may well fade, but it's held. FTSE's just not doing that. Even the DAX, the DAX has been flying recently, but the FTSE's just not doing that. And I wonder whether it is to do with that story with oil. The reason that we're sort of seeing this drag. The problem I've got with downside with the FTSE is that we are heading into a seasonally long period, and when you see the Nasdaq and the DAX both pushing, that's sort of saying, well, okay, well, global growth isn't a problem. The story about global growth isn't a problem in Germany, buying German stocks, and it's not a problem with buying American stocks. So if it's just a problem with the UK stocks because maybe of the oil scenario, then with a seasonal bias, I still think that there's a chance that we could push to the upside with the FTSE. So I'm actually looking out for longs. I did try a long this morning, but it hasn't worked out. But I'm still looking out for longs with the FTSE. And this is the area that I was interested in, right across here. See if I can change this to black as well. Right across here, I saw, I see this this area of support here, right now. But we've just broken down there. And so far we haven't proved that we're staying in this area, and it might be that this is, it looks like maybe a test, and we come down to the lower band, we come down here, but I'm kind of in the mindset that I'm probably going to try and buy this all the way, until it genuinely just does break down and give me a trend to the downside, because the longer term time frames, this 4 hour. I think this is arguably in an uptrend right now with a break of that particular area. The daily looks like it is, higher high there, higher low, higher high. So I'm still interested in upside, but the FTSE is quite a hard one to tame at the minute. But yeah, right now, mate, as I say, I'm kind of on the sidelines, and I wonder whether it's the week 3 blues for me that I just don't have the setups I need during week 3 very often of a month. So I might be sitting around for a bit.
Okay, I'm not going anywhere with the week 3 blues. I could add to that, but no, anywhere near it. It's danger territory. Danger Will Robinson.
It is. I shouldn't have given you a song title.
No, you shouldn't have. George has probably got some ideas. G'day, mate.
Good day, gents. How are you doing?
Oh, not bad, mate. Not bad. Trying to tame a difficult market, I think.
Well, it's I don't know about which blues I have, but all I know is if the market is ranging on the daily, I love it, because I'm gonna have trends up and down on the 5 minutes.
Yeah.
During the day, so that's beautiful. If it's trending on the daily, I love it even more, because I gotta try and find that early trade to try and hold as much as possible, as difficult as possible. So, there's some pros and cons. Some pros, maybe, I think, to being a 5 minute trader.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've got a currency up just out of interest. I'm enjoying it. I put up, in addition to index, sometimes I throw up gold, sometimes I put up a currency, sometimes it's nothing. But I've had the CAD on, and I'm trying to see if I can get into this market. We are in a bit of a convergent triangle on the daily.
Yep.
And we've kind of broken below the low already of yesterday. So which kind of, caused me to hesitate a bit. I always, if I'm going to short off something like this, which is a good sales signal, for me to look at in the 5 minute, I'd love to get into like the UK European session before we break the low of the day and then see how it works. So we've already broken below it, and we are in a bit of a range. So that's a 5 minute. So that's the low of Friday. That's the open of the day, a bit of a gap down. So I'm going to wait and see what forms out of here, whether we come back and try and create a double bottom, in which case I'll have a high low double bottom, and I can look to take it up and see how far we go. I mean, there's always enough room, if you get a double bottom here to get to the high of the day, make your money and see maybe it might go a little bit higher. Or if we just keep on, going sideways, and then we break out back into the range of Friday, I'll have to see what we get out of that. But my initial interest, is to see if we can get a test of this. This is the open of the day that becomes a high low double bottom, and happy to take that. You're talking
Does it bother you, mate, that it hasn't yet touched the lower end of the daily range that you were talking about? In its current phase, in the current phase, does it bother you that we haven't yet tested that, suggesting that maybe actually the move is still lower?
Yes. So the other thing is, if you don't get back into the range of yesterday, in other words, don't get back above the high, the low of this red line, low of yesterday, and we start to create double tops. We already have double tops in here, but we are in a trading range. So if I see bears accelerating away from their downwards, and we don't get the double bottom, and we get a pullback, then that's something I'll be looking to short for sure. So look at what happened in the Asian session. If you had this kind of bear price action, 3-4 candles breaking beneath this low, and then a pullback, that would be a perfect one to short. So if you look at this currency pair in the Asian session, you should have tried to take that at least as a short, second short. So if we get that, but I need to see the bear breakout first. I'm not going to short up here. Okay, so if we get that, the pullback, fantastic. that would be a nice gift to take. That would have been nice. For the guys who trade the Asian session, if you caught this, I'll put my stop above the high somewhere, and depending where you got out, that's an easy 1-to-1 or whatever it may be. Or even if you put a measured move stop, it's probably near the same area. I don't put the stop here, a little bit higher, but that would have given you a nice, beautiful return. Even if you manage it manually, 1.5 to 1. If you just put a profit target 1-to-1, easily would have banked it. So that kind of pattern repeating itself definitely would take it short. So that's a key level to look at. Do we bounce off here? Do we break beneath it? If we do break beneath this, pull back and shorten. If we bounce, I'm going long.
Like it. Any thoughts on the FTSE?
Yeah, let's have a look at that. So I'm always interested, as what's happening, from when the market's open. So the moment I see a doji candle, low test, doji, that's like a trading range open for me. So it takes a bit of pressure off, sit back, I got to wait to see what's going to unfold. Tried to break out beneath it. We have failed. And that's good. That's giving me a level now, which will either become the low of the session down here. If we get acceleration up and get a higher low double bottom, happy to take it. So right now I'm kind of thinking long as far as this is concerned. I need to see the bulls just give us, continue to give us bull candles. So this is about to close in 10 seconds. If it closes above the high, that is fantastic for the bulls. Then what I'm interested in is, can the bulls follow this up? And then we get a pullback. That's going to be the place for the stop. Or if they don't follow up and you get, let's put it in. So let's say they're strong enough to give us something like that. That's a high low double bottom. Look at taking it on a signal there. Stop here. If we do get a candle closing above here, but we come back down here, then I'm still looking for the double bottom. But so far now, with the break beneath the opening trading range, I'm kind of longish. I just got to find ways to get in. You know, if you traded the breakouts instead of the pullbacks, then you probably be jumping in. You know, but I want to just see a bit more strength, high low double bottom, and go long.
So you would consider that a double bottom because of where the yellow is, would you? Even though you've had the spike down.
So the double bottom hasn't come in yet. So that's just a low.
Yeah.
Okay. So the double bottom would come in if we come back and test that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So all we have is first candle, second candle, third candle. All of that is trading range price action. We broke beneath it. Bears were not strong enough, you know, to convince me to say, well, just look for the pullback to short. So because the way the bulls came in, we have a low that could be a low of the session. Now I want to see whether I get either high low double bottom up there, or maybe we'll come back again and test that and give me a double bottom closer to it. Then I'm gonna look to go long. Yeah. So that is key at the moment. At the top end, you know, it's still really the high of Friday that's of interest. If whatever we get, let's say we get strong breakout by the bulls and we jump in or whatever the case may be, that level of resistance has to be something to watch out. You know, will we break above it? If not, as you said, what do you say, third week blues is trading range, that's fine. You know, you get a reversal up there, you get out and you find a way to go in the market, get a short signal, then sell and come back again and just go with the range on the daily, because to give you a couple of trends, decent enough trends on the 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Like it, mate.
On the daily, you know, like you said, I mean, trading range behavior, unlike the DAX, which, as you pointed out, has just been accelerating, we are in a bit of a trading range. I mean, the key level on the daily is here. So if the bulls do manage to break out above Friday's bull candle, that's probably where we're gonna be watching out to see what happens. Now, because of the overlapping candles, I think already we are in a trading range market, which means if it gets somewhere up here, I've got to be finding out how strong the bulls are. If we have a reversal, or sell it back until we get to the lows again. So it's nice to know that it's trading range price action. At least I can look out for that. I mean, Friday, I'm just going to put up, this was an interesting day. I mean, a day when you actually just, in the US session, nothing happens. I mean, let me use Ash's trick to move this back.
Yeah.
I finally got it. So that was a candle that opened the US session, you know, and I'm kind of sitting around for the first hour or so, and I'm saying, man, what is happening? I mean, look at that. This just carried on and on for almost a couple of hours. And, you know, I've never seen such a tight trading range at the US Open for a while. So, you know, when you go to the daily and you look at the daily, I mean, just look at that's Friday. Look at the last three candles. After the bulls accelerated up, you know, they've tried, they failed, they failed. So will we get another, you know, small day today? It's possible. Anything can happen in the market. But this week, there's got to be some kind of a big move. Whether that big move ends up as a bull trend going up or as a bear breakout coming to test here, doesn't matter. It's going to be a big move, and I want to just hang around and see if I can catch that. I probably think we are in a pullback, so I think this is a 10 EMA. I mean, since the beginning of the month. After that, that's how strong the trend has been. We haven't come back to test that, let alone 20s or 50s, whatever guys put. So if the bears are strong, the best they can do is try and break beneath this low and just test the EMA. The bulls are strong. They've got to get above this present high of the month and just look to the left. That's been stolen.
That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, that's the big problem. Do you know? I look at the Nasdaq and I wonder why we've kind of had the run we've had, and it seems that the market has been, or investors have been quite keen on the fact that there's going to be a pivot due, but we're still talking about June or July next year, so it's like 6 months away, more than 6 months away actually. 9 months away or whatever before there's a pivot, and there seems to be sort of I guess if the numbers continue to kind of level off in the United States, then people want to get in nice and early. But we're not that far away from the previous highs, that we had when things were, before all this sort of like stuff really started to happen. So it doesn't seem very good value. And people are still getting what, 5% or whatever it is they're getting on a treasury bond. They're still getting kind of free money just for holding their cash. So to take risk at this area just seems strange to me. But the market's liked it. But that does suggest that the next move is more likely to be down than it is to be up. From this. But as you say, the range has been tight. I haven't. There's nothing today. Just sort of from the fundamentals that I'm looking at that would suggest that we're going to go anywhere really today. And when we get deep into this week, there's not a lot when it comes down to the bigger players, because each country sort of has their week where they take the spotlight, but there's not a lot in the way of big players, and maybe that's why I always get a 3-week. The third week is so tough for me because none of the big players are reporting anything huge. So yeah, I don't know, mate. I mean, will we get a breakout? Quite possibly, and it might be in anticipation of what might happen next week, rather than an actual event that happens this week, if you see what I mean.
And I guess that's why they call it the weekly blues, right? No, Elton John fans in the room. Come on, guys, that was a good one.
if you look through, if you look through any of these months,
sorry, George.
If you look through any of these months, I mean, your week 3 is somewhere within here, right?
Yeah.
Here there was a breakout out of it, somewhere in here. So at some point there is going to be a breakout. Now, when we say breakout, remember when you say, oh, the market is now in a bear trend, it's broken out, there has to be confirmation. So that candle there was a breakout candle, but that wasn't the one that led to the trend because of the pullback. That was the trend. But as far as we're concerned as price action traders, we kind of know that we are going to have one of those candles in here somewhere, whether it accelerates up and pulls back or comes down and tests and pullbacks. And on a lower time frame chart, that's at least 1 or 2 swings in the day that you can capitalize on. So when I see tight trading range like this, especially on the daily, I mean, like, look at here. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. This was end of the month, beginning of the month. But just straight after that, you had those candles. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of these candles, good ranges. You could have traded, whichever, selling up or down, whatever you catch in the day. So this is good news. Will we get it today, tomorrow, or Wednesday? But before the end of the week, there is going to be some massive move. Whatever drives it, on the 5-minute time, it really doesn't matter. It's knowing that I'm in a tight trading range. There is going to be a breakout, test the highs, test the lows, maybe break above it or break below. So that's pretty exciting news, just to stay alert.
Good advice,
then,
mate.
Quickly, just on the 5-minute on the DAX, that first candle tells me problems. Okay, out of the Asian session, it's a trading range, it's a doji, bulls controlled it, and then following that, didn't break beneath it. We're back on the third candle, huge sell-off, and by the time that comes, I've already seen this, so I'm not jumping in to try and sell that. So again, I gotta wait. We have a low. Will this be a low of the session? I'm not saying of the day because there's still plenty to go. That below the session, if it is, we're going to get that tested. Are we going to get, if this is the high of the session, there's a huge magnet just above, which of course is the high of Friday. So start off with trading range, best to wait. But if you ever look at the daily, there's a story that's unfolding there, which I think you've already alluded to. I mean, look at that huge acceleration.
Yeah, crazy.
Completely, contrary to the FTSE. I think it's good because, for a long time, I used to think, oh, these markets are correlated. You got to treat each market as independent. Just trade what you see. If there's some correlation, fantastic. But best to trade what you see, because of the different drivers, which probably you could interpret on the fundamentals. But huge acceleration up, just blasted through October. We've come, to the test of the highs of September. If at all there's going to be any bears in the market, it's really just a pullback. Profit taking, whatever it may be that may be driving. I think profit taking will be the biggest of it, to come back and try and test that level. Test the EMA. So, if the bears start to sell off and give us decent enough setups, I'm going to sell on the day to see if we get below the low of Friday. And if we carry on in the day, fantastic. If not, if we still a bear candle today and tomorrow, it doesn't mean we're in a bear trend. We're just going to come and test the moving average and then see whether we bounce off it. If the bulls are strong today and come in and just break out above this level, fantastic. Again, on the 5 minute, will be good enough indicators trying to get into the market. But any breakout, there's got to be a pullback. The market has 4 or 5, strong trend candles. There's got to be a pullback of sorts. If you just flip through your charts and go back, very rarely do you just keep getting 4, 5, 6, 7 bull candles. There's a pullback of sorts that kicks in. So at some point there's going to be a pullback, which, depending, if you're on the daily, it's kind of frustrating, right? Because what do you do now? Do you buy here and put your stop down here on the daily, or you can't sell? There's no signal. So on the daily, as daily traders, you're probably kind of stuck until things are a little bit clear.
Yeah.
So this might be tough because you want to see a double top to try and sell. You want to wait to see if we get, higher low double bottom. Do you buy? Or if you're brave enough to buy, but goodness, look at where the stop would be. So it's a bit tricky for daily trading, but for intraday, plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
Seems a bit hard to ask you, George, being a 5 minute trader, have you got a favorite chart for the week? But is there such a thing in your mind, the one that you're watching more than others?
There isn't really. It's what's unfolding on each one of them. Because you can get like we showed on the CAD in the Asian session, you can get a beautiful trend setting up and spinning, and you jump in and you take that. Then at the end of the day, the thing that's paramount, that's key of the daily, is that I'm anticipating pullbacks, right? On DAX, on the UK 100 trading range, S&P, I'm anticipating that there will be some breakout of some sorts. And then the CAD, we see the CAD is accelerating beyond the levels we spoke about. So that's important just to kind of govern the day. Then I go into what's taking place. When the day ends, then I gotta look at tomorrow and say, oops, we ended up in another trading range, or now we have a strong enough breakout here. So there might be follow through. So I start to look out for those patterns. So for me, it's really any chart can be a good chart. You can pick up any chart, whatever it's doing, and just know, let's say, I'm going to trade the CAD, and let's say we were here. With a doji, expect trading range behavior. So when you go into the day, market goes up to the top. If you get a reversal setup, sell with it. If it comes down, buy with it, as long as we are here. And then if the next day we end up, like today, we end up as a big bull candle, then my bias kind of leads a little bit more to being bullish on the day.
Okay, mate. Chart's a chart, right?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And Ash, is there anything that can lift you out of the doldrum that you've labelled the third week
Yeah,
blues?
Aussie Swiss short would lift me out of the doldrums. I'd
Oh,
quite
don't
like
say
that.
things like that. Goodness gracious. All right. Well,
But I'm not convinced on it. I'm not sold on it. But that would lift me out of the doldrums if that shaped up.
okay. Happy days. I'm for the Aussie, and like everybody seems to have forgotten. Was it 2 weeks ago? The 7th or the 6th, I think it was. The RBA actually raised interest rates, guys, against every other indicator from the reserve banks around the world. It's the only sign of a central bank raising interest rates at the moment. For that reason, I am an Aussie bull, and I think my favourite one for the Aussie is gold Aussie short. So I'll be watching that chart very, very closely. And I'll be watching all of the Aussie pairs very, very closely throughout the week, looking for a pullback on a few of them so I can get into them. I will remind you of one thing before I leave you, and I will share that chart. It is euro versus the dollar. And you pretty much, well, sorry, you probably come to the conclusion that you're a euro bull this week, pretty much based on the dollar index. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's probably sound logic. What I do see, however, is a Monday. Where's DR1? Still a little bit to go to DR1 for euro versus the dollar. But if it happened to do so, then I would be very keen to be pursuing a short based on an untested daily pivot down here at a reasonable area of former resistance. So maybe not completely to the daily pivot, but if you can get in up here somewhere, or maybe even a little bit lower, if that becomes a hot, pardon me, if that becomes a lower high, then a breakout proven false underneath here would make perfect sense to trade down to there. So that would be what I'd be looking for on euro versus the dollar on this, the third Monday of November. Does that mean anything? Santa Claus?
Yes, it does, mate. Yeah.
Goodness me, how did we get here so fast? It's just amazing. It won't be long before we're all enjoying a cold tiger.
Oh, I can't wait for that, mate. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, that'd be good, eh? I haven't seen you blokes for ages, it seems. So looking forward to the catch up.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Unless there are any questions or observations in the chat box, I think we will call it quits and put the road behind us. And it doesn't appear that that's the case. So I will bid you adieu and wish you all a wonderful week ahead. And thank you for being our trading buddies. Have a great week.
Yes, guys.
Bye,
See you
guys.
Bye-bye for now. Hooroo.